Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay, just Jay, your resident troublemaker, your resident counterculture, just culture warrior. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. I hope everyone had a great weekend and happy Halloween for those of you that celebrate it. I am here. Obviously, as you know, yes, I am here. I don't know what the hell that was about. You know, word has been going around the interwebs, Henry Cavill is leaving the Witcher TV series. You've probably heard that. There's some speculation as to why. So let's get right into it. And this one is coming to us from Screen Rant. Cavill told us the real reason he's leaving The Witcher a long time ago. Henry Cavill is sadly leaving The Witcher after season 3, and past interviews have already revealed the real reason for his unexpected departure. Henry Cavill has long been hinting at his dissatisfaction with The Witcher, and it sadly should come as no surprise that he's departing. For Henry Cavill, the opportunity to play the character of Geralt was something of a dream come true. Quote, I really enjoy playing these kinds of games and reading these kinds of books in my spare time. He observed in an interview back in 2019, I don't consider it a job. For me, it is more like an extraordinary opportunity to live my childhood and adult life fantasies. This, more than anything else, has made the recent news Cavill is leaving The Witcher after season 3 particularly shocking. In truth, though, Cavill has been hinting at his displeasure with Netflix's The Witcher franchise for quite some time. The problem stemmed from the very fact that he is a fan of the source material, both the books and the games. He's clearly wanted to be part of a faithful adaptation, one that brought to life everything he loved about Andrei Sapkowski's novels and those classic games. Excuse me. In contrast, however, the creative team behind The Witcher has clearly showed little respect for the source material, and the story feels as though it's increasingly deviated from the one Cavill loves. How the Witcher's writers drove Cavill away. Cavill had previously committed to The Witcher's 7-season plan, but in interviews, he'd made it clear there was a caveat. He insisted he was only on board, quote, as long as we keep telling great stories which honor author Andrei Sapkowski's work, via The Hollywood Reporter. That point has come up time and again, including when Cavill was pressed about whether his character Geralt could work with other Witchers more in future seasons. Quote, it all depends on how much the story allows, he observed in an interview published on The Witcher's YouTube channel. I'm a huge fan of the books and staying loyal to them, and it's about making sure that story happens without too much in the way of diversions or side things going on to muddy the waters, unquote. And you see this, there's a post, a Twitter post, basically saying the same thing. It's long been clear the creative team working on The Witcher didn't share the same attitude, however. The Witcher Season 2's ending went in a very different direction to Sapkowski's books. I don't know why I'm having a hard time speaking today. Complete with a main villain, the Deathless Mother, who doesn't exist in the novels at all. A rare behind-the-scenes glimpse was recently provided by writer Beau DeMayo, who explained he'd left The Witcher in part because of the attitude some of his fellow writers had towards the games and novels. On an Instagram story, DeMayo claimed, quote, some of them were not fans or actually disliked the books and games, even actively mocking the source material. It's easy to see why a fan like Cavill would be unhappy with this approach and working environment. What Cavill leaving means for The Witcher as an adaptation. There have already been signs The Witcher Season 3 will move away from the books, with Robbie Amell cast as what seems to be a major elf character who doesn't even exist in Sapkowski's works. Presumably, The Witcher's writing team, and indeed showrunner Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, have no intention in strictly adhering to the source material going forward, leading to creative differences that made Cavill feel he could no longer be part of the hit Netflix show. This will surely infuriate some portions of the fan base, meaning future seasons of The Witcher will be increasingly controversial. The Rock may have helped Cavill leave. Dwayne Johnson is known to have pushed for Cavill's Black Adam cameo, outmaneuvering then DC Films boss Walter Hamada to get his way. It's entirely possible he played a part in encouraging Cavill to leave The Witcher as well, by offering him a shot at returning to the Superman franchise and becoming the Superman he had always wanted to be. It's interesting to note, though, that Cavill is also reuniting with Guy Ritchie for the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, a spy thriller set during World War II. This will give Cavill an opportunity to play Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond, and Ritchie hopes the film will be the beginning of another new franchise. All this makes it seem as though some very attractive opportunities came up for Henry Cavill at the very moment The Witcher was taking a direction he disagreed with. The simplest solution was to jump ship, with Cavill departing and Liam Hemsworth taking over as Geralt from season 4 onwards. It's disappointing news for lovers of Netflix's The Witcher, and it leaves the franchise's entire future in doubt. But it is a completely understandable decision on Cavill's part, and I totally agree. And I think there's a lesson to be learned in this that will probably go unpicked up by definitely the mainstream media, and a lot of other outlets and talking heads. And that is this is what happens. This is why Tolkien fans and other fans of franchises, get so defensive when we hear certain key phrases dropped about adaptations of the franchise that we happen to be fans of. And so when you hear things like a reimagining, a retelling, updating it for modern audiences, we as fans have learned by now the hard way, okay, that those are key phrases that let you know that the lore that you love, the thing that made you a fan, is probably going to be put on the back burner, put on a shelf in favor of other things. Usually it's political driven agendas, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Long story short is that things that are essential to the franchise that made you a fan to begin with are now being made secondary, okay, for whatever the new adaptation is, be it a film or a TV show. And this illustrates just that. Here you had a very well-known actor who, the actor himself, Henry Cavill, has a built-in fan base of his own, okay? Between the Mission Impossible movies and the other movies. Like, I know people that are watching that, the Millie Bobby Brown, Sherlock Holmes's sister show, simply because Henry Cavill is in it. And that's why they're watching it or are planning on watching it. They watched season 1 simply because of him being part of it. So the man has a built-in fan base, and he has a passion for this story, this world, this lore of The Witcher. Okay, and the writers don't care. The showrunners don't care. They want to modernize it. They want to, for lack of a better term, make it woke. Okay, politicize it and stuff like that. And so what you have is somebody who had who loved this franchise so much that working on it wasn't even considered work. It was like a dream come true. And that person is now having to be like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Okay? I can't do this anymore because you guys aren't holding true to the lore. Now, how that ties back in with us fans of Tolkien and other sci-fi and fantasy franchises is because that's sort of the position we constantly have been getting put into, whether it's fans of Doctor Who, whether it's fans of Star Trek, whether it's fans of Star Wars, whether it's fans of Tolkien, whether it's fans of Marvel and superheroes and comics. Hollywood doesn't seem to actually give a fuck anymore about just making a good Witcher series that tells the story that people fell in love with, that made it popular. And same thing carries through for all these other franchises. But the one thing Henry did, and this is the lesson, this is the little kernel of hope, the little lit Silmaril within this big egg of crap that's going to be The Witcher. Henry turned around and said, I'm done with it. If that's the route you're going to go, I'm done. And I'm a firm supporter of the idea that fans need to do the same. Fans and fan bases, whether it be Marvel fans or Star Trek fans or Star Wars or Tolkien, need to do the same. And I think Hollywood's wake-up call most recently was with Tolkien fans, because we were the ones that, you could call us ists, you could call us phobes, you could call us whatever you wanted. We didn't care, okay? The names weren't going to dissuade us from speaking our mind, because a lot of us, I've been a Tolkien fan for, oh my God, since the 1980s. So you do the math, okay? So do you think, a couple of, bad reboot showrunners, that them thinking I'm some ist because I have to point out that, hey, scientifically it doesn't make sense for dwarves to be black. That's not saying anything. That doesn't make me an ist. That doesn't mean I don't like people of color. It just, if they live underground in essentially dugout mountains, biologically you would have no need to be black. That's science. That's not ist. That's not phobe. That's not being a gatekeeper to Tolkien. That's pointing out a fact. Okay? And that's the difference when you want to make changes to the lore. And that's why they keep going back to, well, Peter Jackson didn't do it exactly by the books. Yes, but Peter Jackson didn't make changes that fans of the books sat there and went, that makes no sense. There's a difference between making changes that are necessary either to speed up and tell the story. Like, for instance, I was totally okay with the whole Tom Bombadil Goldberry not being in the movie, because it sped up the story. From a story's perspective, that is a slow part of the book. Okay, it's interesting, don't get me wrong, but it's slow. Okay, and it doesn't affect the overall, Frodo having to go and get rid of the ring. Okay, it doesn't change it whether or not it's there. But when you start changing things where it interrupts the audience's suspension of disbelief, where when you put something on the screen that even in a fantasy world the audience goes, that doesn't make any sense, then you've gone too far. Now, what Henry's done, Henry's walking away from it, and I think fans need to start to do the same. I think if fans don't show up, and I mean literally just don't show up for The Witcher Season 3, even though Henry's in it, it sends a message that Hollywood will hear. They will hear it. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to make changes right away, but they will definitely hear it. They will realize that you can't take fandoms and your fan base for granted. Now, imagine if Tolkien fans did that. Imagine if Tolkien fans did that. If Amazon spent $60 million an episode for that shit show known as Rings of Power, and nobody showed up to watch it. Imagine the message that sends. There's a guy I follow on YouTube, Eric July, Young Rippa. And he's always been saying this since, since I've been following him. He's been saying is that, stop giving them your money. Stop accepting the scraps that they're throwing you. Like they fuck over the lore. They completely change it simply because they feel they can squeeze out an extra dollar. And we're supposed to be like, well, at least it's Lord of the Rings. It's Tolkien. No, fuck that. Don't show up for it. Don't show up for the show. Do what Henry Cavill did and say, you know what? I'm not down for this. And y'all do that shit on your own. I'm out. And if us fans did the same thing, man, we could get shit turned around. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you think fans should turn around and start just en masse, just being like, you know what? Fuck it. If you can't hold true to the Lord, then I'm not giving you an hour of my night. Maybe that's what we should start doing. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Remember to like the video if you like the video, and share the video. And most importantly, please subscribe. We are up to 154 subscribers right now. You guys are fucking awesome. I love you guys. Let's make this thing go. Let's put some steam in it. Let's hit the gas and let's make it take off. And let's make sure that people are hearing what we have to say. You know, after all, we are the customer, right? We're always right. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. Until the next one, peace.